Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about what I actually experienced in my first few months of coming to the UK, the challenges that I had, what surprised me the most. And I actually know that this video is going to be very insightful for some of you that are getting ready to come and work in the UK as a nurse or as a student. You are going to find this video very helpful. And if you also have family and you want to bring your family to the UK, watch this video to the end, because it will help you to understand what the challenges that you might face in the first few months of coming or bringing your family. And I'm going to be sharing tips on how you can avoid those challenges. Okay, so let's go. I'm surprised to see that my contracts and my employment letter, they were actually different, and I didn't notice it. When I came here, I used an agency, and that agency, you know, like they always say, okay, read this contract and return it in 2 days or in 1 day. But one thing I discovered when I came, not everything that was in my contract was in my offer letter, because I remember before I signed my offer letter, I told them, okay, I already have an offer, I don't need to do this. And okay, they said, okay, we are going to do this. And then when they eventually improved on what they offered, I accepted it, not knowing that it was not included in my contract. So because they sent me the offer letter and I signed it, and they sent me the contract letter, I just ran through it and I signed it as well, thinking that, oh, it's almost the same thing with my offer letter, so is actually the same. So when I eventually came here and it was not exactly what was in my offer letter that I was seeing, I sent the hospital an email and I said, oh, this is what I was offered, but this is what I'm getting. They said, no, that this is what is in your contract. If you have any problems, contact your agency. And I was like, really? So this actually happens here as well? Well, but I didn't want any problem. I just said, okay, no problem, since, well, so I just let that go. But you know, if I read my contract very well, I would have seen the difference, yeah? And then I will be able to correct it or ask for clearance or anything. So this is really important, and I cannot emphasize as much how important this is. Make sure you read your contract very well and ask questions if you don't understand. So I found it very upsetting that even with my nursing salary, I'm not able to rent like a 2-bedroom flat, a 3-bedroom flat. And then when I decide to go for a smaller one, they will say, oh, because you have family and you have children, this is not suitable for you. And they will stop like the conversation from there. It was really very stressful and very embarrassing for me. Really hard to like think about what we were supposed to do. And if you're interested in knowing how we now avoided this problem, how we eventually found our the house that we are living in, stay to the end, because I'll share how you can avoid some of these embarrassments. Another one is the free stuff. So you must have heard that in the UK, education is free for children in nursery, primary, and secondary school. But like and then when you are working with agencies, they will tell you, oh, don't worry, education is free for your children, you can bring your children to the UK, there's nothing to worry. And then you come with that expectation, you don't even ask questions anymore, you just think, oh, it is free. So when you come to work in the UK as a nurse, you're given a Tier 2 visa, and this visa allows you to work for that employer on a permanent basis. So if you're working on a permanent basis in the UK, your children can be entitled to 30 hours of free education per week. But if you're not working on a permanent basis, it might be 15 hours per week. But what you discover as a nurse working in the UK on Tier 2 visa is that you are not eligible to access their public funds. Is written boldly on your residence permit. So this actually makes you not to access the 30 hours free education that you hear about. And you may not know this until you want to enroll your children to school, just for you to discover that you are entitled to the other one, which is the 15 hours per week. If your kids are less than 3 years old, and you want them to go to school, you have to pay for it. So it's not free for children below 3 years if you don't have access to public funds. So those that have access to public funds, yes, they can send their children below 2 years old if they meet some requirement. But for someone with Tier 2 visa, your kids cannot access the free 2 years old schooling. so you have to meet a certain requirement for you to be able to access the free stuff. So I would want, like, it's better for you to prepare your mind that with this visa, this is what you can access: 15 hours per week for your kids that are 3 years and above, and for your kids that are below 3 years, you're going to be paying. If you want your kids to start school when they are still 2 years old, then you have to pay for their education or for their childcare. Okay, another surprising thing to me when I came to this place is the social greetings. It was really very strange to me. Like, you wake up in the morning and someone that is just like the people that you're living with in the same flat, you say good morning to them, they will not even behave as if they heard you, or they will look. The ones that I found very strange was like in the complex where we were living in my first few months of coming, the accommodation that the hospital provided. Like, you come out from the room and then you see someone and then you greet the person like good morning. Sometimes I get like this stare. Sometimes someone like will stop and look at me to know maybe whether they actually know this person that is greeting, and then they will just walk away because they don't know you, but you just said good morning. Like, I found this so strange. Then you walk into a lift and you just like say good morning and nobody is even going to like respond. It felt so embarrassing sometimes and strange. Like, I had to get used to it, and then I stopped greeting. Sometimes I feel very guilty because someone that is now like me will now greet. Sometimes when I don't greet, and then I feel embarrassed to, like, I will now respond, why didn't I greet the first time? So for one thing that is also very, very like surprising is that, like, at work, sometimes people don't respond when you greet to them. When you greet, like, you come to work, you see your colleague and you greet, and then they don't even respond. They only start talking to you maybe when you start working and you're working with that person, and then they will start talking to you. My goodness, I found it very, very, very strange. Another one is that, like, someone that you see every day, let's say the pharmacists or the doctors or even other nurses, maybe you talk with them on work basis and even discuss and even chat sometimes after break. When the work finishes and then you see them outside the hospital, or the next day you're coming to work, you see them maybe in the bus and you wave, they will just remove their face, or they will even like look at you as if they've not seen you before. Or even someone that works in the same work with you, you see them outside and you wave, they don't even return, they will just remove their eyes. And then I got used to it to the point that sometimes when I see my colleagues outside, I just wait for them to greet, and then when they greet, I feel still terrible. Oh, I should have greeted first, but I didn't. Sometimes you don't really know whether they're going to return, because most times they don't. Like, I found it very strange that as a Christian, like, I'm a Catholic, so if it was very, very strange to me that maybe you decide you want to go and pray, just for you to go to the church or the place of worship, for you to see that it is locked. That was the very first time I'm seeing a church locked. Like, you don't just wake up and then you decide to go to church like it was in my place. Like, you can decide to go to church anytime to pray. You can go to church because it is only, like, you have places that you can go and pray. So it's very strange to me. Like, most times wherever you live, you will always see a place of worship that is close by, but the thing is that it's not always open. I found it very, very strange. How can you actually avoid some of these embarrassments and these shocking moments? As I've mentioned, you read your contract and send them messages and ask them questions if you don't understand. Another way of making sure you understand everything about your contract is to write out those things that are important to you. Like, if you want to work for another agent, another employer, or you want to be doing extra shifts of a particular number in a week, you can actually write them, even if whether it's included in the contract or not. You can decide to just write a separate email, ask them, I want to just clarify, am I going to be allowed to work for another employer if I'm working in your hospital? And then, am I going to be able to do extra shifts? Let them send you a separate email telling you, oh yes, you are allowed, oh yes, you are not allowed, and then they will refer it to your contract, so that you will now have like that evidence and then a confirmation. So you can do all of that just to make sure you understand what you're going in. For the accommodation, there are so many ways you can do. Like, the first one is getting the accommodation that your that your salary can pay for. So when you get it, especially if your family is not yet here, so when you get the accommodation that your salary can pay for, when they eventually come and then your husband, your partner gets a job, then you can adjust and then find a bigger apartment. So another one, the one I used, is the savings. So make sure that once you come, you don't just spend everything. Try to save up, because you may need it in one way or the other when you want to apply for stuff. So what we did was that we discussed with them, okay, how else can we meet the requirement? They said, okay, if you have the savings of up to a social amount, then we can consider giving you the apartment. So save up. So when any of the agents or the landlords, they are saying they can't give you, try to find out the reason why they are not even giving you. Try to ring them back. If they are not responding, ring them and say, oh, I was told I'm not eligible for this particular accommodation. What other things can I do so that I will be able to meet the requirement? And they will explain to you, and that way you'll be able to get the accommodation that you actually want. For the schooling, if your kids are less than 3 years, there are actually other places that you can take your kids, like the play group. And then these play groups, you are the one that you are supposed to take your kids to that particular play group, and then you stay with them till the end of the play group. And they are really very, very interesting places. They have toys for kids, they tell them stories and they read to them, but you have to be there with your kids. Or if you have a childminder, maybe your childminder can take the kids to the play group. In the local libraries, you can find resources for your kids, and usually they have clubs for kids or social groups where you can take your kids and then you stay with them. Usually they read for them, sing, dance, and then you have so many toys that your children can play with. So usually they are free, so you don't need to pay for it. And then instead of maybe paying for your child that is less than 2 years old to go for a child care or a daycare center, then you can decide to follow this route, because even in the daycare center or the child care is still within a limited time. So, and then you cannot say you will take them there and go to work, because within few hours you have to go and bring them back. So it's still better you go for the one that is still free. For me, I paid because I didn't know. In social greetings, just be yourself and then continue greeting. Even if they don't respond, just greet, because sometimes you'll be surprised some people actually respond, because you don't want to like change the way you have been behaving, which is actually good for you to like greet people, but you now have to like adjust and know when to greet, the appropriate time to greet, and when they expect you to greet. Usually if you continue going to maybe a particular church or community or school, you discover that they will respond to you when you greet and everything. So just keep greeting. Even if they don't return, the only thing is for you to now have that information that some people don't respond, and then you just don't take it or don't get surprised. Or yes, there are so many beautiful things about working in the UK. I have described in this video. If you have not watched that video, go and watch it. I mentioned so many good and beautiful things that you can experience here while you work in the UK. But I also want you to just get ready for some things, from some culture shock, like why you are transitioning. In my next video, I'll be sharing so many resources. So even though you have tier 2 visa and you don't have access to public funds, there are so many resources that you can still access. So in the beginning, if nobody told you about them, you may not be able to know where to find. But I'm going to be sharing information on where to get information, on where resources that are available for your kids, for you as an individual, or if you're not married. So watch out for that. My next video, I'm going to be sharing a lot of resources that will really help you, especially in your first few years of coming to work in the UK. So this is what I have for this video. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that anytime I post a new video, you will know about it. Thank you so much for always watching my video and coming back. See you in the next video. Goodbye.